And that phrase is done beats perfect, but you can't perfect what you don't do. A lot of times we as entrepreneurs will ideate a lot. Nothing wrong with that process. And I know for myself, I can get in this spiral of ideation and then I forget to execute.
Welcome to the Talk Chamber, a production of the Greater Memphis Chamber. The Talk Chamber is the podcast for the latest on the Chamber, economic development, and all things Memphis. This mic is powered by Ortho South, world-class orthopedic care across the Mid-South. Today's episode features Kimberlee Denise, the founder and executive director of the Flourishing Agency. Kimberlee, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Taylor Ann.
So before we jump in, I do want to tell our audience just a little story that I'm not sure if you remember, but when I first started here at the Chamber, a group of small business owners all hopped on a bus and we went to Nashville for a conference. And I think I had maybe been at the Chamber for a week. So you were the very first member I had ever met. And I did not know anything about anyone but you up until that moment. And we have stayed in touch. And of course, I see you around here. And so it's been such a joy to get to know you and see your smiling, shining face when we go to events and when you're working them as ambassadors or when you're just attending them. And so I'm excited this is kind of like a full circle moment to have the very first member I ever met come on my podcast. So I'm very excited for this one.
That is so exciting. I wasn't aware of that.
Yep.
And it's so funny. I was actually looking for my 3686 lapel pin this morning. I started to wear it and I had no idea that you were going to share that story. So that is amazing.
Is funny. I love it. You were the first member I had not met because I started and, we had the onboarding process and all that kind of stuff. That was just I was in the office getting my laptop set up, doing some introductory work and things like that, get my start here. And we hadn't really had any events where I got the opportunity to go and meet members. And then I think it was like my second Wednesday here. They were like, okay, we need you to go here. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I met you.
Wow.
So on that note, kick us off. Tell us about yourself. Where are you from? How'd you end up in Memphis? That kind of stuff.
Absolutely. So again, I'm Kimberlee Denise. I am a native Memphian.
Yes.
And in Memphis, they will judge that by what high school you went to and what neighborhood you're from.
Tell us.
So shout out to Whitehaven High School. I did leave and go away to college. I studied at UT Chattanooga for undergrad, stayed in Tennessee, and then I did come back home because I felt like this was where I needed to be. I wanted to bring my talents back here. And so that's a little bit about me. So native Memphian.
Love it. So you're the founder and executive director of the Flourishing Agency. What does that mean? What is the Flourishing Agency? What do you do?
Absolutely. So I will tell you, the Flourishing Agency is this baby that was born out of me having a strong desire to have a business to help people. And while the business is only about 3 years old, the work that I'm doing and the journey that I started 9 years ago.
Wow.
I was branded under my name. But then once I learned a little bit more about entrepreneurship and about business, and I knew that I would eventually want to hire people, I decided against my name being the name of the business. And so that's how the Flourishing Agency was born. I love that word flourishing and what it means. It symbolizes growth. The ING is like an ongoing process. I am a person of faith. And so it's really important to me that my faith is the foundation in all of my work. I don't force people to have my beliefs, but it's really important to me that the beliefs that I stand on shine in my business. And so through this journey, the work that I do is really leadership development. Think a professional development hub for other entrepreneurs and small business owners. So we do some entrepreneur training, helping people to test their numbers and different things like that. But the work that I'm most proud of and the shift that we recently made, we are targeting the next generation. So I'm shifting to more of a membership online academy and in-person experiences for my entrepreneurs and small business owners over the age of 25, but my heart is really with middle schoolers and young adults up to age 25, seeing them ideate, introducing them to innovation. And so it's been an amazing journey since making that shift, and being able to plant into them, not forcing them to be entrepreneurs, but teaching them that skill so that wherever they go, they know how to strategize. They know how to communicate with people. They know how to present in public, give a pitch, whatever it is. There's so many things that entrepreneurship can teach people. And my background is in education. So I'm a teacher at heart. So all the work that I do, I'm always teaching people, modeling how to do different things. And that's how the Flourishing Agency came to be what it is today.
What kickstarted this business idea? What made you want to start this business?
So I knew I wanted to kind of consult and coach in some way. And so when I started this journey back in 2017, I just felt like, especially coming from the education field, like I need a certification or something. I can't just be out here doing something. This is me. I'm not projecting onto anyone. I can't just be out here, saying that I'm doing something. I need some type of certification so that, people can know that I know what I'm talking about.
A little bit of credibility.
Yes, and feel like they can trust me. And so with that, I decided to get certified by John Maxwell. So as of now, let's see, this is 2026. I have 30 years of leadership experience from church and the community. So for me, it was a natural lean to make leadership really the foundation, the lens in which I work with people. And so getting that certification, meeting people from all over the world when I attended that conference, it just opened my eyes up to so many different things. I've met so many people that utilize the training from John Maxwell in different ways in their business. But for me, it was more of something to kind of give me that extra boost, right? I've said that I'm a former classroom teacher. So like curriculum is important to me. If I'm going to do something, I love having like a plan, being able to communicate outcomes and all of that. And so that program, studying in that program really gave me that, but it also gave me a little bit of confidence to know that, hey, I'm needed. And not only am I needed, I can do this in a way to meet the audience, the needs of the audience that I serve. And so for me, that was entrepreneurs. I really wanted to support other people, not only that looked like me, but had dreams and visions like myself. But once they're no longer attached to a company, they're not really thinking about outside of industry standards. They're not really thinking about professional development, right? Someone in the food industry, yes, they're testing recipes, they're doing all of this. But sometimes I think we forget to brush up on our communication skills. We forget to brush up on even how to write for business, drafting emails and different things. And so it was really important to me because when I realized I didn't have that, it was important for me to provide something, and that where I saw a gap, provide something that I felt like, people needed and it could be useful.
Let's talk about curriculum for just a second.
Okay.
Where did you get your curriculum? How did you create this program? How did you decide what was necessary to teach and to put out there?
Absolutely. So I have partnered with co-starters. I've done a lot of their programming in my work, and I love their programs. And I've seen people kind of deviate and do some different things. For me, I felt like something much more was needed for the audience that I'm serving here in Memphis. And so that's the reason why I decided to create the online academy, which I'll be launching soon. And so it's a blend of leadership development. So using some of John Maxwell's books, helping people with personal growth and development, and then just some of those foundational skills that we need as entrepreneurs, financial literacy. We need to know how to test our numbers. We need to know how to be able to test an idea. How do you do market research? And so taking a blend of those things and putting it together. So honestly, I feel like my life has been a case study.
Okay.
As I have facilitated these different things, I'm always asking people, you won't hurt my feelings. What worked? What didn't? And so as I'm getting this, what I like to call feed forward, because to me, feedback is negative. because
Okay.
you're looking on the past.
Mm-hmm.
I love Feed Forward because like how can we improve? How can we move forward with this? And so it was an overwhelming response that people really needed more support outside of just a 10-week cohort. And so for me, the basis of the curriculum, if you will, is really community. A lot of entrepreneurs feel lonely. They want community. They want to find their tribe, not just their clients, not just the people they're serving, but we need support. It can be a lonely journey stepping out there and your family thinks you have lost your mind when you quit your job and you start a business full time. So I really wanted to create a space for people to feel like they had found their people, but then in finding their people, putting together some peer support as well, right? So for me, it's less about my expertise and trying to show people how much I know. I want to use my expertise to empower people. And so that this is not a linear journey through the Flourishing Agency. It's more circular, where it's ongoing, it's regenerating. And so as people are going through the program, I intend to see them mentoring others.
Yeah.
Right? Not just being a consumer, but being a contributor in this process as well.
I love that. I think entrepreneurship is a really hard job to have. I've said it on the podcast before. You're wearing many, many hats at all times. But something that you kind of mentioned was that those skills that you learn in entrepreneurship are transferable.
Yes.
The skills that kind of make up the word entrepreneurship, you can use in the corporate world. You can use as you're running your small business. You can use when you're teaching, when you're doing just life in general. And so I think it's really important that regardless of industry, regardless of career, you learn how to lead and how to develop and grow as a person, professionally and personally. And so I think that's important. And I love the aspect that you've added, this giving back, this community regeneration type aspect. A lot of programs don't have ways for alumni, graduates of the program to stay in touch. Some do, but some don't. And it's you do the program and you move on, especially with online courses. So being able to create that community is really an important piece, I think.
And I just think about my own journey and kind of where I've been and how community has supported me. And one organization that I would love to shout out is Epicenter. Epicenter is where I got my start. When I started out on this journey, I took a leap of faith and I was a classroom teacher. I didn't go back after Christmas break because I am a type A, C personality in DISC, where January 1st, if I'm starting a business, I have to do it January 1st. I'm not doing it in May. Like, who does that?
Right.
So I started out at 902 South Cooper a little before Epicenter took over that space, and then they took over. But I was able to plug into programming. I was able to have peer support, other people that were starting businesses, and we would co-work and we would just kind of bounce ideas off of each other. And it was this great journey, even post-pandemic, when Epicenter got their new space, which is downtown, and I was working from there. And so it was an amazing experience just to have that community. And so I know that was something for me that really boosted me. I can think of several conversations with different entrepreneurs that have helped me and supported me. Hey, I just want to run this by you. What do you think? How would you do this? And so that was an amazing experience for me. I know how it made me feel, but I also know how it made me feel when people came to me. Hey, what do you think about this? I'm like, you want to know my thoughts? And it's just a really great feeling to build relationships in that way and have a safe space to talk to people, to not have to commit to go in the market for something that you haven't tested, but to be able to have a voice of reason that can kind of say, that's really good. And I know someone who's done something similar. Let me put you in touch with them, right? And then it becomes your network is expanding and you're building community. And like you said, most programs, you do the program and then it's over. For me, I really want to create something that never stops. It doesn't have to feel like, oh, let me get plugged back in. I want it to feel like you're always plugged in. And honestly, I can say, Taylor Ann, that's how I felt at the chamber. I always feel plugged in. I don't feel like it's a start stop. And so I know that's been a great feeling for me. So why not create something like that for other people?
So I guess this is a great time to talk about the chamber. Why did you join the chamber? How did you find out about us? How long have you been a member?
I joined the chamber, I think it was December of 2023. And the executive director of Epicenter at the time really encouraged me. She actually invited me to be a guest to sit at Epicenter's table at the annual Chairman's Circle luncheon that year. So I got a chance to experience that even before my ribbon cutting. And so had a ribbon cutting January of 24. And that was absolutely amazing. And for me, that ribbon cutting was more of a coming out of the witness protection program, if you will, for my business, because I feel like I was doing so many things, but I was kind of afraid to put it out there. And so for me, that was a step of, okay, letting people know, going public, if you will. This is what I'm doing. I'm here. I'd love to connect with you. And so that was great. And then from there, when Terry invited me to be an ambassador, it was a no-brainer. You know, I love meeting people. I love talking to people. I will smile and say hello to everybody that I meet. And it's not fake. You know,
I know some hence why you were the first person I met that was a member.
Yes. And so I love that. And I will say, for me, ribbon cuttings have been an ambassador and celebrating and going to other ribbon cuttings has been an amazing way for me to get away from behind the desk. A lot of what I'm doing now as a business owner, it requires me to build relationships. And I do have a community engagement background from my former work. And so really, it makes it easy as an ambassador for me to kind of do that community engagement. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not at all these ribbon cuttings trying to sell something to people. That's, you know, I'm operating with integrity. I'm meeting people organically. But I feel like being an ambassador, I like to tell people it's like I have this warm market, you know, this group of people that it's not an awkward, you know, conversation, because most first conversations are a little bit awkward, right? Because you're, okay, how do I connect? What do I say?
Yeah.
And being an ambassador makes it easy because, hey, we're out here celebrating this place. And whether it's, I never heard of this place, or I'm so glad they reopened, or whatever the conversation is. And then I've got to say, most of the ribbon cuttings have some of the most amazing food. So like, not just the people, like that has been like a great thing, because when you're working and you're doing all of these things, sometimes you forget to eat. So it's nice when you go and you're building these connections and you're like, oh, they have food here too. Great.
Somebody, I don't know who it was and how they exactly said it, but it was like food is like the connector of people. It's like a lot of business deals, a lot of relationships, friendships are built over food. You know, you go invite somebody to coffee and now you've got a new friend. You sit down for a business dinner and y'all sign the deal. Like, food is an interesting part to that. And it's also great because a lot of them, it's local stuff. It's local food. It's local, whether it's a ribbon cutting for a restaurant or they're catering from a local restaurant or a local caterer. So you're kind of getting a really great experience there. And kind of on that same note of experience, do you have a favorite memory from your time with the chamber, whether that was an event or a ribbon cutting or sometime when you were volunteering as an ambassador?
Absolutely. Do I have to have just one? Because I have two in mind.
Go ahead. You can share them.
The first one that I want to share briefly about was actually my second ribbon cutting. So I told you about the ribbon cutting in 2024. Well, I had a ribbon cutting. Oh, wait. I'm getting my years mixed up, but I had a second ribbon cutting when I moved into a space in Whitehaven. So I transitioned from co-working, stepped out on faith, got a 1,500 square foot space in Whitehaven so that I could host trainings and all of these things. And when I say, yes, I invited people, but I did not realize all of the people that like Terry would invite and people from the chamber that would show up. And there was probably 60, 70 people at that ribbon cutting. And that just blew my mind, the amount of support and the celebration, and to see and feel that, it was amazing. I'll say my second memory, and I'm not ranking these, but my second one is a recent ribbon cutting for a restaurant that I live downtown, that I've been waiting for them. I'm like, when are they going to reopen? Felicia Suzanne's. There was so much hospitality at that ribbon cutting. And I know we talked about food, but the food was amazing. And just being able to connect, it was a small and intimate setting. It felt like a private special event, and it was just really exciting to enjoy the light bites and to get to meet, Felicia and her husband, her mom, her mother-in-law. I mean, it just was great. And it's like, wow, other people, they have their family supporting them too. And so I think for me, seeing that, it was like, this is great. No matter what industry you're in, seeing people come together, it's not just us showing up, like a pop-up.
Right.
And like, hey, we're celebrating you. To see the friends and family of the business owner celebrating and there and supporting and being able to hear stories from them. And I think that's what I really enjoy the most, the stories, like how you shared a story and just being able to know a little bit of background and, why this and, it just all of the things with the journey, I think were amazing. So I think for me, that one, yes, we had food, but as we were enjoying the food, there were so many stories, great conversation, laughs, smiles.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just...
I was at that ribbon cutting briefly and we toured the space. I had never been to the upstairs part of Felicia Suzanne's. Great fun space. They were talking about opening the outdoors because it was, I guess, right at the start of the spring weather. Or like right when we finally had like a stretch of nice weather. And so they were talking about opening up their back patio and all that stuff. It's just nice to be able to get like an inside look at how the business operates and what they do. And then kind of to your point, making those genuine connections and hearing the story and hearing them, whoever the business owner is, say things like, yeah, well, this is initially the idea that we had for this space or what we thought we were going to do. But then we decided to do this because blah, blah, blah. And now you've gotten this inside look at this story and you see the intentionality and the passion and the excitement behind the business.
Absolutely. And just even exciting for them to say, please come back. Let us know that you're here. I was like, I want to take my husband. They're like, please come, bring him. Make sure to let us know you're here. We'll bring y'all back to the kitchen. We'll do this. And it's like, what? This is amazing, you know? And so I think that's been one of the most amazing things about being connected to the chamber as a member, but being an ambassador is like these connections you make with other business owners, right? Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. I don't think if I walked into any of these places and introduced myself, I don't think they'd be cold or anything like that. But it's just, I think something about them seeing the support when we show up and they're so thrilled and we're all supporting each other. And I just love that way to continue to connect.
You've got that phrase, it takes a village. And I know a lot of times people apply that to raising a family, but I think it applies to a lot of other aspects of life, like running a business. It takes a village. It takes your friends and your family supporting you and, coming in to help you do, set up your new space, coming to support you at your ribbon cutting.
Yes.
It takes other people, it takes support, and it takes a community. And I think that's one thing that Memphis really has that's really special as a community.
For sure. And I will say for any business owner that, entrepreneurship is hard. I think we said that earlier. And it can be challenging for different reasons, right? Folks in the food industry have to deal with varying food costs, and different things. And in other businesses where maybe they're dealing with, insurance and things, they have to deal with certain things that have to be done on a constant basis to stay compliant. There's just all of these different things, no matter what industry you're in. But having support, I think, is the one thing that in Memphis is unmatched. We will support each other. We will celebrate each other. And I love that for us.
So why did you start a business in Memphis? You could have gone somewhere else, could have chosen somewhere else.
Memphis is not only home, Memphis is where the entrepreneurial blood in my family line is.
Mm-hmm.
Something I didn't mention to you before. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My grandmother owned her own drapery company.
Oh.
It was called Campbell's Custom Drapery. And so growing up, I saw my grandmother running a business. So she did that, and she did Avon on the side. But she had that drapery company where she would make custom drapes. And a lot of the Baptist churches in this city, I think many of them may have transitioned. There's a few still left, but they hired my grandmother to make drapes to go over their baptismal pools. So I was in a lot of churches with my grandmother measuring to hang drapes. My grandfather would hang them. He was retired, but she would make them. But I saw her being a business owner. I saw her writing down things, figuring out costs. We would go to Hancock's Fabric. I don't think Hancock's exists anymore. At least I don't think we have one here. But we would do all of those things, and she would let me help her. But even they bought me a Snoopy snow cone machine when I was like 5. And I was in my grandparents' front yard trying to sell snow cones to people. And you know, with kids, people are like, oh, you're cute. We'll buy it.
Here's $5 for your snow cone. That's,
Yeah.
a little small.
Yes, yes. But even from there, my very first job working at 15 years old, I worked for one of my cousins, my mom's first cousin, more like an uncle to me. But I worked for him. He had a dollar store. It wasn't a chain. He still is an entrepreneur. So my very first employed job, I worked for an entrepreneur as well. And being a teenager, getting to see, and he didn't have a lot of staff. It was me and another one of his cousins, kind of related through marriage. But he trusted us. Even at 15, 16 years old, he had trained us. And so I was like the manager of the store. So I not only helped to put the shelves together and see this store be actually built and stocked. Once the store was up and running, I had responsibility. I was counting down registers. I was closing the store up. I was giving reports. But I feel like that was so much of the behind the scenes that was really sparking something in me that I didn't realize it was sparking. And it was giving me something to be proud of about home. I've always been proud of Memphis. But as I started going through my career and, I love doing this and, but you don't quite feel fulfilled. And then when I decided, you know what, I'm going into entrepreneurship full time, it was a no-brainer. Memphis was the place. Sure, I could maybe do this anywhere, but there was something for me about being home with those memories, and for my family to be able to see it firsthand and not hear about it.
So as we wrap up, I want to ask you one final question. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs, people who are just starting a business or maybe have only had it for a year or so? What's your advice?
Absolutely. My advice is a phrase that I kind of came up with over the years as I've worked with entrepreneurs in a facilitator setting. And that phrase is done beats perfect, but you can't perfect what you don't do. A lot of times we as entrepreneurs will ideate a lot. Nothing wrong with that process. And I know for myself, I can get in this spiral of ideation and then I forget to execute. And I have all of these things in the queue, but I'm not executing anything because I'm being so critical of myself and I'm wanting everything to be so perfect. And so honestly, perfectionism can lead to procrastination.
Definitely.
And so that's why I love I remind myself all the time, done beats perfect, and you can't perfect what you don't do.
Listen, there is something to be said for the editing process. So it's important to get it done because you can always go back and, redo the part that's not as strong or that you're not as satisfied with.
Absolutely.
Kimberlee, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thank you for sitting down with me and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me, Taylor Ann.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Talk Chamber. We are so glad you're here with us. Today, Kimberlee shared with us about entrepreneurship and her passion for helping other entrepreneurs and other leaders in this city. If you enjoyed this episode or learned a valuable piece of information, share this episode with a friend or maybe even a colleague. Subscribe to the Talk Chamber to keep up with the latest on the Chamber, economic development, and all things Memphis. Follow us on social media at Memphis Chamber, and we'll see you next time.